This is Mississauga Transit, or MiWay. It is just the second Ontarian agency covered in the most recent 2025 visit. They don't have the strange fleet that YRT does, but it does have other tricks up its sleeve. Some of these tricks have some mixed results. Let's dive in, shall we? MiWay's fleet is relatively ordinary, with Novabus LFSs and Excelsiors dominating throughout. There are some non-BC buses that will get a brief discussion here, but before that, they do feature the inescapable LFS diesel. But these guys do have a different transmission to the Translink examples. Plus, it's not the LFS Suburban. That's something at least. Their flyers are slightly more interesting. MiWay is the second largest operator of the XDE60 behind Translink. They also operate the 40-foot version of this model, the new Flyer XDE40. They have a total of 127 units delivered between 2021 and 2023, after they outbid their competitor Novabus, along with 40 of the articulated variant. The XDE40 will be running on one of two express routes featured in this video, starting with the 10X. Clarkson is one of numerous GO train connections that MiWay has to offer. Others include Barmella GO, Port Credit GO, and Cooksville GO.
Southdown Road at Heartland Drive.
The route itself isn't really that unique, at least the first half anyway. It acts like a regular express route that you would find across North America, apart from the small Ontario bus exchange, which still makes others like Scottsdale look tiny. But here's where things get interesting. This is Erin Mills Parkway, the second transfer point on this route, and certainly an interesting place. We'll dive into its logistics later. But first, let's see how the XDE40's powertrain handles a highway run. we arrive at Mississauga Square 1 terminal. The best way to describe this place is Metro Town, but dominated by Excelsiors. Over 45,000 passengers use this terminal regularly, transferring between MiWay, Brampton's 502, and GO Transit buses, and expects to see the Hurontario LRT to help further establish it as an integral hub. The next route here is the 7X, another long-distance express to Humber College, but will go as far as Pearson Airport this time for one reason. The bus for this particular trip is one of the aforementioned Novas, which don't have as much of a presence as the new Flyers do. Mississauga Transit only have 49 LFS diesels, 30 LFS Arctics, and 9 LFS HEVs in their fleet. This is compared to the near or over 200 New Flyer Excelsior vehicles roaming around. Speaking of New Flyer's competitors, or more accurately, former competitors, they also have some of the final Orions ever built. All of these are based off the Orion 7 next generation platform and is one of 8 Canadian operators. It did somehow sell very well in the US market. Somehow. MiWay's active Orions were delivered between 2009 and 2012 before they merged with the New Flyer empire. But the main subject here is what could possibly be the best looking and also insanely overbuilt express corridor on the channel. This looks absolutely insane and looks like something straight out of Transport Fever. These stations are also served by the 40 GO bus and the TTC at Renforth, and all of them have similar amenities to the SkyTrain. Take notes 555 and 66. You need stations like this. Why doesn't BC and Alberta have infrastructure like this? Because it's a very bad idea. The Transitway cost around $260 million for its construction. Its creation was a collaborative effort between the city governments, agencies, and the feds. Funding was a joint venture between the city of Mississauga, the government of Ontario, and the federal government, with construction assigned to the city for most of the corridor and the western portion handled by Metrolinx. The corridor slowly opened in phases between November 2014 and November 2017. Erin Mills from the last route was in fact one of the western stations along with Winston Churchill. Both would open in 2015 and 2016 respectively. An alarming point about the corridor is that ridership seems low for the level of the infrastructure built. The line is often criticized for its poor location and ridership. Yeah, I can see it. In fact, let's have a really good look at this thing. Erin Mills is located in the middle of nowhere, and at least in this footage, sees about a dozen riders at a time. It also has amazing TOD in form of parking lot. Look, Metrolinx, you could build the nicest, most cozy shelter you can, but riders aren't going to come with a crappy location like this and have so little service to support such a facility. Notice how there is literally no development surrounding it. This was because for a time, the government didn't allow large structures to be built around the station until just recently, but there is still no reason for the lack of other routes. Other Canadian bus exchanges don't really have this issue. Facilities like Carvolf, Phibbs, and even Calgary's North Point have better development and planning in the surrounding area. Carvolf and Phibbs have quite a bit of TOD built at a rapid pace, and North Point just focuses on being a massive bus transfer. All of these places also have a variety of different routes. Carvolf, for example, has 2.5 expresses, a community shuttle, and 2, soon to be 3, local routes. All of these routes combine to create a seamless flow of action, at least most of the time. Erin Mills only features a couple of intercity and express routes. The former can last as long as the flight from Toronto from the west coast and sees little ridership, understandably. But don't worry, the Transitway gets better from here. Bro decides to copy-paste the design 5 kilometers down the freeway, call it Winston Churchill, and call it a day. Except the shelters are now somehow worse, and it's all surrounded by Ontario suburbia. Why? Why? Next is Square 1, and it's fine. It's the only station to have the service to justify the size of the facility. Its off-peak service is absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. It does have an alarming lack of passengers for how massive the facility is and how many routes there are, but let's give it the benefit of the doubt. This was shot in July. Summer operations can't really be an indicator of how successful the facility is. That leeway, though, is not going to be given to Kafra. Bro, MiWay. Why does this exist? Same for Central Parkway and Tompkin for that matter. These three stations scream building transit for the sake of building it and nothing more. Stations are meant to have a destination. Unless the 403 counts as a destination, there is none to be found anywhere close, and the buses just end up flying by the platform anyway, which doesn't really help the usefulness. Dixie is slightly better, but still isn't great. Tahoe, great name, has an office park nearby. The station's still dead. They would have done similar, or better, with a row of bus stops, like a normal industrial route does. The Toby Choke Creek has some significant development around its area, thanks to Bell Communications, a massive corporation. Great. Spectrum has another corporate headquarters next to it and a sea of parking lots. Orbiter is near another business park, and Renforth has a connection to GO and a TTC, with expresses to both Line 1 and Line 2, and is a stone's throw away from Pearson International Airport. The critical problem with all of these stations is the fact that all of this effort was put into a flawed express bus corridor with poor placement and integration. And this isn't just a MiWay thing either. There are two notable examples, at least on this channel, of quote-unquote highway transit. TransLink's Millennium Line and Calgary's Crowchild Corridor. Both have piss-poor planning, are located right next to highways, and open with little fanfare, but both were either able to build some level of TOD over time, or eventually become major transit hubs. The best examples being seen at a station called Brentwood. On both systems. That's an odd coincidence, but would the Transitway have a similar story too? No. Probably not. The main difference between this and the other two lines is that the former two are run by trains. The Transitway is run by buses. There is nothing wrong with buses. They are the backbone of every system around the continent, but they're not going to attract riders and developers very quickly, at least putting them in the middle of nowhere with no context anyway. A metro-style bus could work, as time can significantly be cut with high-quality service at an affordable cost. But looking at the Transitway station designs, the affordability just is thrown out the window. You can imagine that they're not really the best investment, with literally no passengers there. They also have functioning escalators and elevators, by the way. I'm sure operating costs are not a problem on this corridor whatsoever. If the Transitway was, say, like the C train, it would maybe perform better and see better development. Keyword, maybe. But compared to pseudo-BRTs like Max and Rapid Bus, at least on this channel, the cost-ridership ratio isn't there. Rapid Bus doesn't have any flashy stations or grade separation, yet has millions of riders annually, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Sadly, the Transitway focuses hard on aesthetics than anything else. It seems to be a theme here. Outside of this problematic thing, Mississauga Transit's fleet is modern and clean, and their actual transit hubs actually see some decent use, such as Square One and the GO transfers, and is the biggest agency outside of GO and the TTC. But what do you think? How is the fleet? Is the Transitway actually useful or just a flex? Feel free to sound off in the comments and subscribe for more transit content like this.